Hello everybody and welcome to part 7 of What If Izuku Midori Had a Twin Sister. If you like this series and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe button if you're new. The next video will come out on Saturday if this video hits 57 likes. With that said, please enjoy the video. The 1-week internships finally came to an end with everyone returning home. As a result, Izuku and Himoto finally got to see each other again.
What happened to you?
Himoto asked, seeing a tired and beaten up looking Izuku after meeting up with him at the train station. What do you mean? Izuku asked, not having seen a mirror in a while.
Dude, your face looks so beat up.
Himoto elaborated as they started walking. Oh yeah, I did do a lot of training, both with Gran Torino and against a lot of villains, Izuku explained.
You got to fight villains regularly? That's unfair. I mean, I only got to join a fight once.
Himoto complained, slightly disappointed. She enjoyed battle way more than her brother, yet he got to do it a lot more than her. Yeah, I've been working on this new fighting style. It's still in the works, but it's coming together. Gran Torino thought that only fighting him wouldn't be great, so we had to fight a bunch of small thugs. Izuku elaborated. But your internship couldn't have been that bad. You must have done something exciting.
Well, yeah. I got to see the dragon hero in action and learned a lot about hero work. Even started working on a bunch of new moves and techniques, including the blazing smash. Was pretty cool.
Himoto said as they headed home. As they did, the two siblings kept exchanging information, their experiences, taking notes on what the other had learned, wanting to incorporate it into their own styles and experiences. The talking lasted so long, it even overtook most of the dinner conversation. The next day, they finally returned to school after what felt like an eternity. When they returned, they found everyone talking about their experiences, so the two siblings joined in the fun, recalling most of what happened. The conversation then shifted into talking about what happened in Hosu, at which point Ida, as the class representative, got everyone to cease the chit-chatter and take their seats as the class was about to begin. Later in the day, after going through their regular classes, All Might met the students at Ground Gamma, going over a rescue exercise with them. After explaining how it worked for the students, the first group to take on the exercise got in position, while the others started placing bets on who'd win. With most students putting their money on Zero, although some did give Izuku and Ida a chance. Once the race actually started, most students were surprised to see Izuku take an early lead. They were expecting him to move as stiffly as he always did, but suddenly, his moves were more fluid and developed, allowing him to easily traverse the environment he was in. It was a close call, but Izuku did manage to win the race, barely beating out Zero. For the next few matches, Izuku paid especially close attention, writing down notes on everyone's movements and styles, analyzing them to better his own. Even as time passed, Izuku kept doing this. One day, in between classes, he saw Ashido dancing. He quickly realized that this too could help him, so he asked her to teach him a couple moves. She did what she could, directing Izuku to a martial arts style that incorporated dancing into it after figuring out what he wanted from it. Without anyone realizing it, the final exams had almost arrived, but Izuku, along with Himoto, had used their time wisely. Himoto had helped her brother test out his new fighting style while also refining her own, learning how to properly use her new Fire Fist technique and be aware of everything on the battlefield. There was only a week until the exams came, which led Izawa to remind his students about them. Many started freaking out about this, worried they would fail.
We're studying this together, right?
Himoto asked her brother. Sure, although I do expect you're going to need me to explain a lot, Izuku replied.
Yeah, you got me. I'm not doing so well in English. Or math. But hey, since we're already doing a study session, why not let some other people join us? No?
Himoto suggested. Yeah, sure, Izuku replied.
Maybe a certain gravity girl someone has a crush on?
Himoto suggested. Hearing that comment, Izuku blushed. He got a bit flustered, saying he had no idea what his sister was talking about.
So you still won't admit you have a crush on her, huh? It's pretty obvious, I hate to break it to you, but I think she likes you too. Just FYI.
Look, if you want to invite her, that's fine, but please leave me alone now, Izuku said, getting back to his notes. As the study group started forming, Himoto proposed her house if anyone needed it. Most people ended up choosing to go with Yaoyorozu, but Uraraka, Ashido, and Hagakure took Himoto up on her offer. With the study groups formed, everyone went to lunch, where they kept discussing the coming exams, primarily the practical part. They knew it'd mix in various aspects of their training thus far, yet Izuku wasn't really worried. He was confident that his development was good enough that he'd be able to get a decent score, especially after how he'd improved recently. Monoma approached the group as they talked, insulting Izuku and some of the others, but Kendo stopped him from getting too out of hand. As an apology for his actions, she told the students all she knew about the coming exam. On the weekend, the students got together to study. At the Midoriya household, the group started going over Izuku's notes, studying together. After about an hour, everyone got pretty fed up with the process, deciding to take a break. They played a couple games, talked a bit, and then continued studying, rinse and repeat until the day sadly ended. The day was enjoyable for everyone, but, although they were supposed to be a group, Izuku had spent a lot more time talking to Uraraka alone, with them talking about their life experiences and things of the sort. Time passed with the students studying and training around the clock. The week that lay between them and the exams quickly vanished, so they confronted the new challenge head-on. The students went through 3 days of written exams, with the practical coming right after. On the day of the practical exam, the students put on their costumes and headed to the examination building, where the students of Class 1A were greeted by their teachers. Thanks to gathering some intel, the students had a pretty good idea of what to expect for the exam. However, their expectations were completely shattered once it was revealed that they'd be fighting the teachers instead of just robots. The revelation caught everyone by surprise, and some students tried to object, but the teachers explained that they'd be wearing handicaps in order to give the students a fighting chance. With all the details explained to them, the students were given a few minutes to prepare before everything got underway. The first battle was between Ryder and Sugarman, who had Cementos as their opponent. This match was supposed to test the students' endurance and ability to strategize. The students decided to attack their teacher head-on, wasting their time-limited quirks until they were subdued, losing them the match. The second team to take on the exam was comprised of the gods of the moon and the sun, Tsukuyomi and the Materasu, who were fighting ectoplasm in an underground structure which had narrow tunnels, opening up in some cases. The scenario was all designed to force the two into a confrontation with the enemy, where Tokoyami would be weakened by Himoto's flames. Once the match started, they both started walking through the large building, heading towards the exit. They were trying to play it sneakily, so their teacher wouldn't be able to find them. As they went along, they found one of Ectoplasm's clones.
You're first, right?
Himoto asked, vaguely remembering the plan. As we discussed, Tokoyami confirmed, sickening Dark Shadow on their opponent, tearing him apart until the clone disappeared. I'll leave the next one to you, he said, retracting Dark Shadow.
Right. I'm on it,
Himoto said. She made a couple of flames, placing them into the burnable parts of her costume. With her new weapons ready, they kept going through the corridor. Once they reached the end of the hallway, they found a group of 3 clones waiting to engage them.
Just like expected,
Himoto said, directing the flames into streams of fire that she shot at the clones, burning them until they decomposed. Once they stepped out of the corridor, they were met by an even higher number of clones. However, this time it was Dark Shadow who disposed of them, slashing the 4 clones apart. The next time they met more, they had to fight 5, which Himoto managed to destroy with a giant wall of fire. They kept going, encountering small numbers of clones as they headed to the building's exit. Once they reached the actual exit, they found a number of over 20 clones in a big open room. The clones, along with the original, instantly took note of their presence, attacking the students. The 2 of them fended off wave after wave, alternating between who was the one delivering the blows. This ensured that Dark Shadow wouldn't be weakened by the fire and that Himoto wouldn't overtax herself. There was only one point where they broke their flow, which was when Tokoyami was starting to be overwhelmed, and Himoto came to the rescue, burning off all attackers. Seeing the two students taking out his clones left and right, Ectoplasm called everyone back, including the destroyed ectoplasms, unleashing a gigantic version of himself that went to engulf the students, trapping them inside his gigantic body. The two students struggled, trying to escape, but it was for naught.
"This is gonna be such a pain,"
Himoto complained, breathing in as much as she could. "What are you?" Tokoyami started asking, but before he could finish his question, Himoto exhaled, releasing an enormous amount of fire into the air. While trying to hold back coughs, she mustered all her concentration, redirecting the fire at herself. It hurt quite a bit, but thanks to the fire-resistant costume, practicing with her fire fists, and her expert control over her flames, she managed to avoid most of the damage, accomplishing her objective. The clone skin around her burned away, freeing her. The girl started falling to the ground, but she managed to land correctly, avoiding most of the damage. She then headed to the exits, wanting to escape to pass the exam. Seeing her moving around freely, the clone focused his attention on her, trying to stop her from escaping. He swatted left and right to try and trap her again.
"Oh crap, now I have to deal with this?"
Himoto complained, running away to evade all its blows. Her head was killing her, her body burnt, and her neck especially so. Yet she fought through the pain, avoiding attack after attack. But she wasn't getting any closer to the exit. While Himoto kept the gigantic ectoplasm busy, Tokoyami, following her lead, used Dark Shadow to cut himself free. He then made a break for the exit. Ectoplasm took notice of this, sending the clone after him, but Dark Shadow managed to block the attack, allowing Tokoyami to leave through the gate, winning them the exercise, and thus both students passed. Ingenium and Tailman were supposed to take on Paraloader next. The teacher expertly manipulated the environment, setting traps everywhere to limit the students' mobility. The two students managed to work in tandem. Ida ended up sacrificing himself, but he gave Ojiro a chance to escape, which he took full advantage of, winning the match. After them, it was Creati and Shoto's turn. Because they tend to overrely on their quirks, these two had to face Eraserhead, who was supposed to block the two students from using them. They hit a couple snags on the road, but ended up securing victory in the end, thanks to Yaoyorozu's expert strategizing, which got Izawa to make a mistake and allowed them to trap him. The fifth match had Urabiti and Can't Stop Twinkling, taking on 13. This matchup was made so 13 would be able to prey on their students' nausea-inducing quirks. She ended up pinning them against a railing and intended on pinning them there until time ran out, but then Aoyama asked Uraraka about her feelings towards Izuku, causing her to let go. She went flying towards the teacher, who didn't expect this development. Not wanting to hurt Ochako, 13 deactivated the quirk. Uraraka's instincts then kicked in, allowing her to pin 13 down, passing the exam, although barely. Chargeable and Pinky now had to take on Nezu, who tested them in a battle of intelligence. He kept on manipulating the environment, blocking path after path. The students failed to strategize their approach properly, so they ended up pinned by the small opponent, losing them the match. Next up, Froppy and Earphone Jack were up against Present Mike. The match primarily pinned Jiro against someone who could drown out her quirk, with Tsuyu acting as support and help strategize the match in general. The match was a painful one, leaving a ringing in the students' ears for hours after it ended. But the two students managed to win. Jiro managed to counteract the sound waves long enough to give Asui a chance to get away. She used a nearby river to evade Present Mike's sound waves, reaching the exit. Present Mike was now forced to stop her from escaping, but she managed to move around and evade his attacks long enough that Jiro arrived there too, escaping to pass the exam. The next two to take on the match were Invisible Girl and Tentacle, who were fighting Snipe. The hero managed to force a standstill, his quirk working against stealth types, and he was guarding the only exit. So, the heroes had to go through him somehow. Luckily, Shoji managed to act as enough of a distraction that Hagakure could sneak behind the hero, putting restraints on him, so the two students managed to pass. The second to last match was between Grape Juice and Cellophane, who were fighting Midnight. The hero quickly sprung a trap on the two students, but Zero managed to save Mineta, throwing him far away. At first, Mineta wallowed in self-misery, but he quickly managed to steal his resolve. Using all the resources available to him, he confronted Midnight, locking her in place while he escaped, passing the exam. Sadly, Zero didn't share the same results, because of the little he had done during the exam. The last match of the exams was between Bakugo and Deku, who were fighting against the #1 hero himself, All Might. Although Izuku had trained a lot, he didn't believe that they'd be able to take on the symbol of peace. On the other hand, Baku wanted to prove himself. He intended to fight off the #1 hero by himself, creating a disjointed team between himself and Izuku in the process. "Kachan, we really should come up with a plan," Izuku said as they entered the grounds of the model city they were going to fight in, reiterating what he had been saying for a while now. "Shut up, you annoying little twerp. Just stay out of my way," Bakugo shouted, repeating what he had been answering for a while as well. "This is exactly why we lost last time, Kachan. We need to come up with something, or we'll just get in each other's way," Izuku voiced, drawing on past experiences. "There's no way we can beat him, so maybe setting up a—" "Shut up," Bakugo shouted, cutting off Izuku. "If you want us to work together, then fine, but I'm calling the shots," Bakugo asserted, a condition to which Izuku agreed to. "That means we aren't running. We're taking All Might on head-on." Deku tried protesting the idea, but Bakugo quieted him down with a glance. "I get you're a weakling who can't do anything without his guardian angel, but I won't stoop to your level," he announced. With about the minute they had left, the two managed to come up with a decent strategy. The match suddenly began, with All Might shooting a gigantic blast at the students, disrupting their strategizing. The blast tore the city apart, sending both students back. "Who really cares if I destroy this city?" All Might asked as he approached the two heroes. For a moment, they stared at the damage astounded. As they had anticipated, All Might rushed at them. He headed for Izuku, deeming him as the weak link, but Bakugo jumped in the way, unleashing his stun grenade attack. With All Might briefly stalled, Izuku jumped into the air in a fluid motion, coming down to hit All Might with a powerful kick. His vision still recuperating from the stun grenade, All Might was forced to take a couple steps back since he couldn't block, being met by another attack. This time from Bakugo, who hit him with 3 explosions before stepping back with one final stun grenade. Izuku then jumped in again, spinning around to power his next blow. After receiving that last blow, All Might had enough. He couldn't see his opponent, so he lifted his leg, smashing it against the ground. The air pressure was strong enough to push his opponents away, allowing him a second to recuperate. Baku then charged back at All Might, wanting to stun his vision again, but as the boy came at him, All Might extended his arm, catching the boy by the head before he could land his attack. "It won't be so simple, heroes." "Get off him, All Might!" Deku shouted, rushing at his mentor at full throttle, his punch ready. "With pleasure, hero," All Might said, stepping off Bakugo to counter Midoriya. He prepared his own punch, wanting to meet Midoriya's, but as he threw it, Midoriya ducked under it, jumping at All Might with an uppercut, sending the hero back a few steps. "Get up, Kachan. This was your plan, remember?" Izuku said, his battle stance prepared for All Might's next move. "I still think we should run." Yeah, you don't need to nag me, nerd," Bakugo said as he got back up, quickly readying himself for battle. All Might rushed at the two, swiftly hitting Bakugo across the stomach, sending him flying. But before Izuku could attack him, All Might rushed after the boy, leaving Midoriya there. For a second, Midoriya looked at the direction All Might had come from, contemplating if he should run, but instead, he went after Bakugo. Izuku got up to the two, finding All Might pinning Bakugo down with a piece of railing after delivering a bunch of attacks. Izuku rushed at the hero, trying to attack, but All Might pushed him back with overwhelming speed, hitting the boy a couple times. Izuku couldn't seem to be able to land another attack, so he took a page from All Might's book, grabbing a couple pieces of debris All Might had created and throwing them at the hero. He used the distraction to get behind the hero, freeing his partner from the railing he was trapped under. "Plan B, Kachan," Midora shouted, landing right next to his partner. After grunting at that statement, Bakugo let out a reluctant, "Fine." Then he unleashed the biggest explosion he could muster at All Might, followed by another, then another. He had just hit All Might with 3 large explosions damaging the hero. But more importantly, he had kicked up a gigantic smoke screen. "You think hiding like this will keep you safe?" All Might questioned, shooting a punch into the air. The air pressure causing the smoke to dissipate. Once it was gone, All Might couldn't find his 2 students anywhere. He started looking around trying to find them. He spotted Bakugo jumping around with his explosions, heading towards the exit, so he chased after him. But as he ran, he was hit by a gigantic explosion in the back. All Might was slowly feeling his speed decreasing, his time limit creeping up on him, but he still turned around, clearing out the smoke with his fist. To his surprise, nothing was there. He started looking around, being met by another gigantic explosion in the face. Izuku then rushed at him, winding up for a smash. All Might was barely able to react, putting both arms in front of him to block the punch. Izuku then grabbed onto one of the arms, using it to propel himself further into the air. He spun around, looking down at the battlefield from the air. Having figured out their pattern, All Might's eyes darted over to Bakugo, expecting another attack, but the boy was just standing there. All Might wondered why for a moment, but he quickly spied the restraints that had been placed on his wrist. "Well played," All Might said, standing down from the battle as Izuku landed. The restraints meant he had been captured, so the 2 students had passed the exam. The last exam over, the students who needed medical attention headed to the recovery girl. After that, everyone headed home, ready for some much-deserved rest. So, you've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Since you did, why not hit that like button? And subscribe if you're new. Why not? I'm kind of obligated to say this as a YouTuber. Please tell me what you think of everything done in this video, and what you would like to have happen. Always curious to see what you guys think. Well, that's all from me today. Until next time, everyone, have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye!